definitely frozen. Pretty frozen. Hey, it's Greg here with MaritimeGardening.com. It's the first Sunday in February, and we just had a crazy cold snap for a 24-hour period. On Friday, during the day, it was around 0 degrees Celsius, which is kind of warm for this part of the country this time of year. I mean, typically end of January, early February, it's the coldest time of year here, and the temperatures are around -10, maybe a little above, maybe a little below, right? With a maximum, or maximum, minimum, the coldest it would get would be in the -20s. Anyway, on Friday during the day, it was around 0 degrees Celsius, and this entire garden here was thawed. Everything was thawed. The ground wasn't frozen. This pond I'm standing on was not frozen. And then that night it went down to -23 Celsius, and it stayed there for 24 hours, and it just warmed up this morning, and now it's back to about 0. So I thought I'd have a little fun going around the garden and seeing what's frozen and what isn't. Check under the domes. I got an ice auger here. I'm gonna drill a hole in the pond to see how thick the ice is in the pond, because this was basically not frozen just a couple days ago, right? So let's get started. I guess since I got the camera set up, let's check out the pond. All right, this 4-inch or 5-inch ice auger. Let's see here. Wow. All right, so we got, oh man, I'd say we got about five inches at least. I mean, it's a full hand span, so that's probably 6 inches of ice, and this wasn't frozen. That's a lot of freeze in very little time. Holy smokes. Let's go see how frozen the beds are. All right, now here's a slightly raised bed. I could get my walking stick into that. Just wanted to see with the pickaxe, see how much freeze we got. There's a bit of a mulch on there, but I'd say that's frozen about 3 inches. All right. Now let's find a bed that's really well covered, that I haven't got anything growing in, of course. All right, so here's a spot we got a bit of mulch on. Got some hay. Okay, this is at ground level, right at grade, right? So the thing about the ground level gardens is, you know, they're more insulated in a sense, but they get more water, right? They're water saturated, so they can really freeze up. Yeah, we're through. So yeah, that's a good, it's almost the same as the pond. There's like 5 inches of frozen ground there, despite there being a good 3 inches of mulch, right? And this was not frozen a few days ago. That's a lot of freezing. And it was really, really windy during that as well. Like the wind was just howling all day, all night, right? So even though it was like -22, with the wind chill, it would have been a lot colder. So it would have frozen things down a lot, right? Over here I got one of my domed beds. This is parsnips. So you might as well clear that off and have a look. All right, so I said these were parsnips, but these are actually carrots. You can see how frozen it is. It's definitely frozen, right? But as I've said before, when it's nighttime and it's cold, the domes hold on to heat, but they don't make any, right? You need sunlight for heat, and it hasn't really been sunny yet today. So we pretty much got to smash our way in to get any of these out. Wow. Now she's frozen. Holy smokes. Pretty frozen. I'd say, so it's not as frozen as the other beds because I can get into it. Right? I'd say it's about 2 inches frozen. And with the snow, seeing I can pull this nice carrot out, right? So, you know, with the dome on here, if the sun breaks out at all today, right, this will thaw out a little bit. And that's the trick with these covered beds. They don't get as cold. They hold on to some of the heat in the ground. And when there's any kind of sun shining on them, if they're sealed up properly, the whole thing warms up and thaws out. So you can continually access your produce all winter long. So definitely not as frozen here. It's only a couple inches. It's about 2 inches deep. Whereas the bed we just were in was about 5 inches deep. And a nice fresh carrot anyway. All right, so this bed here is a very large bed. Very exposed, full wind, full exposure. I mulched this thing with leaves in the fall, and it's all new, and it's all mostly sort of clay. But just feeling around, I could tell it's really not frozen. Like the advantage of mulching with leaves, right? Leaves and sticks, right? But yeah, I mean, just with this simple tool, right? I'm in. There's a little bit, the smallest amount of frost, and really it's just the leaves that are frozen on top. But underneath, right, we're into the soil. Right, so I mean that. I've done a video like this a number of years ago, but it's been a while since I did it. I think the title of that one was called, I'll try to put a link to it at the end of this one, which mulch insulates the best. And in that video, it was leaves. I think, of course, no mulch is the worst. Seaweed was basically, of the things you mulch with, I found seaweed to be the worst. It basically doesn't hold any heat at all. I didn't find hay to be that good. I'm sure if you put enough of it, it makes a difference. But like 4 inches of leaves, much better than 6 inches of hay, believe it or not. So anyway, this little experiment here, I could find a bed that's completely unmulched. But given that I had a lightly, the first bed I dug into in this video was a lightly mulched garden. It was basically mulched with just leftover plant matter from things I'd harvested, you know, bean stalks and stuff like that. So it barely had, and a little bit of hay. But you saw it had about 5-6 inches of ice frozen soil on the top, right? The leaves are the best. And I mean, the reason that matters at all is that it's conceivable that if your soil is mulched on days when it's marginal, it means the soil's not getting that cold, which means there's some activity still going on there. And you know, the whole reason you mulch your soil, there's a number of different reasons. I've talked about it 1,000 times in all my videos, but one of the main reasons you mulch your soil is that the soil organisms digest that plant matter as it decays, and they excrete things into your soil, which is basically like a fertilizer, right? It feeds the soil life. Everything that's living in your soil, that's the energy that those things need to live their lives. And by living their lives, they you know, improve your soil in various ways. So when the soil gets frozen, all of that is shut down. Or if there's still any activity at all, it's slowed right down, right? So the idea is that if you can, and if you're somewhere where it's like -40 Celsius, it's just freezing, right? I don't think much of this matters, right? But if you're somewhere where, you know, during the winter the temperature's in the, you know, it's below freezing, but it's in the single digits, or maybe the lower double digits, you know, it's not super cold. If with a good mulch you can keep the soil from freezing, conceivably you can maintain that activity occurring in the soil. And you can, you know, just get more breakdown, which means you're converting more of that mulch into a fertilizer-like material, a compost-like material, which is going to be good for your plants the following spring. So that's why these things matter. I don't really care if things freeze. I'm not doing anything out here, but it's more about how long can we keep the biological activity in the soil going before it just shuts down and goes dormant and waits for spring, right? So anyway, for my money, the leaves are the best. Also, the easiest mulch to source. I mean, I've done wood chips before. I find they're comparable to leaves, but and they can be easy to get if you're somewhere where there's trees grinding up, or the tree services grinding them up all the time. But for some people, for me, I find it very difficult to get wood chips, and leaves do a great job, right? Anyway, just for a final look at things, let's ice auger the other goldfish pond, the original goldfish pond. See how thick that is, because it's not as exposed as the one here in the garden, right? It's sort of tucked into the tree cover a little bit. So, and that one actually has some goldfish in it, right? So let's have a look. All right, we'll assume it's pretty frozen. I mean, there's one year I came out here with my daughter and drilled a hole, and a fish jumped right out of the hole. We had a heck of a time getting the fish to go back in the hole and stay in there. And just for people that are going to make this comment, because every time it's the winter and I show people my goldfish pond, they say the same thing. You should put a hole in your goldfish pond. They're not getting any oxygen. You should have an air pump in your goldfish pond. They're not getting any oxygen. The fish are fine. Fish don't breathe oxygen the way you and I do. They suck it out of the water, right? And where I live, I can't speak to everywhere, but where I live, the water in this pond is perpetually being replenished. Okay? It's not dead. It's not dead. It's not completely dead. Every time there's a rain, every time there's a melt, during the winter where I live, there's periodic melts. Every time that happens, the water goes here. This is a low point. That water is oxygenated, right? Every time there's a, snow or rain or just a warm sunny day, even if it's below zero, there's going to be a bit of a melt. Some of that goes in here. Also, there's plant life underneath here. That creates oxygen. Also, the fish's metabolism slowed down dramatically in winter. They don't need as much oxygen. So, the fish living in this pond have been here for a number of years. I don't do anything with this hole in the ground. It's just a hole in the ground. It's no bladder. Maybe the rules are different for bladders and things like that, but this is just a hole in the ground. Like an actual, natural, real, it's like a tiny lake, a tiny pond, right? So, and the water's not very deep here. I think it's probably maybe 2 feet at the deepest, maybe, probably not even that, right? The fish seem to make it every year. So, they seem to do just fine. Anyway, let's make a hole. Oh yeah, it's still a really good 6 inches here, and I mean, I'm not sure where bottom is. Let me just check with my stick here. Generally speaking, this is the deeper part of the pond, so there's bottom. Not deep. Not deep. Not deep at all. Might be a little deeper over here, but if it is, it's a matter of inches if it's deeper over there. So yeah, not a deep pond, but I mean, the rules are different depending on how cold it gets and what kind of pond you have and that sort of stuff. These fish have been in here for a number of years. They seem to tough out the winter and be okay. So anyway, that's what's going on in this pond. Just it seems about just as frozen as the other one. So yeah, just a silly video, having a look around the garden, seeing how frozen things are. It's a reasonably nice day, although a little bit windy and a little bit snowy, but at least it's not -23 like it was a couple days ago. But it'd be interesting just to see how frozen things can get in a 24-hour period if it's, double-digit cold, right? Well, double-digit and in the 20s cold, right? -23 Celsius, and didn't take long, right? So just something to think about. I hope you found it interesting. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. And until next time, get out there, get at it, have fun in your garden. Thanks for watching. Hey, if you want to help support everything I'm doing here, go to Vessies.com to buy whatever you need for your garden this year. And use my coupon code GAVS23 to get free shipping as long as there's a pack of seeds in the order and there's no oversized items in the order. Check out the description box of this video for details. You can buy everything you need from Vessies. They have seeds, fruit bushes and trees, soil amendments, pest solutions, tools, clothing, and lots of other stuff too. So yeah, if you want to help support everything I'm doing here and they sell something you need, buy it from them using my coupon code. And happy gardening.